right?
All right. So there's 17 questions. Oh, there's a written one too. Wow. Okay. I thought it was all multiple choice. They lied. What? I tell
I
you.
mean,
Okay.
yeah, almost all of them are pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just being dramatic. All right. Low. The quantity supplied decreases and the quantity and the price goes up.
So think of the equilibrium graph as your starting point, right? So the demand curve, the supply curve where they intersect, that's your equilibrium. That's your
Yeah.
starting point. And then here, the price is set below the equilibrium price. So wherever the equilibrium is, it's going to be below. There's going to be another price line below the equilibrium.
Yeah.
And then you find where that intersects the supply curve and the demand curve, right? So if the
Okay.
price is low, producers would want to sell less at a lower price, and
Okay.
consumers would want to buy more at a lower price, right? So demand would be higher than supply, which means what?
There'd be a shortage.
So these are the five shifters of demand that we did, right? So let's start with rightward shift, right? What does a rightward shift in demand indicate? Is demand
It
increase,
means that the demand is increasing.
right? It's not going to be four because we're talking about electric. So the market is electric cars. So if there's a change in the price of the good itself, which in this case the good is electric cars, that always results in a movement along the demand curve.
Right.
If there's a shift in the demand curve, that means the price of the good itself did not change. Something else changed, right?
Right. Okay.
It's not going to be four because the price of electric cars is changing. That would be a movement along the demand curve, not a shift. So it's going to be one of the
Okay.
other four. And I think you said third one, right?
Yeah.
Yes, third one makes sense because if there's a rise in the price of gasoline, which category would this one fall under?
Would that be like in, availability of substitute?
Yes, this would be substitutes, right? So if there's an increase in the price of gasoline, what would happen to the demand for gasoline cars?
They,
It will go down. And since there's gasoline cars are substitutes for electric cars, so if the demand for gasoline cars is going down, the demand for electric cars will be going up, right? Electric cars will be becoming more attractive since gas costs more, so will start switching over to electric cars, which would result in an increase in demand for electric cars without any change in the price of electric cars. That's the main point, right? The price of
right.
electric cars we assume stays the same, but even then, the demand for electric cars went up because of gasoline price going up, which is why the demand curve will shift to the right.
Which is the following this example of a marginal analysis. Marginal.
So if you remember, I gave you a tip about whenever you see anything marginal in economics,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
it always means additional. Okay, so marginal always means additional. So I'm gonna
Right.
tell you the answer, but whenever we're doing the any marginal analysis, right? In micro, we did marginal utility, marginal returns, marginal cost, like all of that. It's always we're looking for one more. We're looking for one additional unit or one additional whatever it is, whatever the unit is of the analysis that you're doing. Okay,
Okay.
so
Would it be then? Would it then be this one? Because you're talking about what the prices of producing those units.
So it should be the fourth one because we're evaluating the benefit of studying one more hour for an additional hour.
Okay.
Okay, so
Okay.
you're deciding if it makes sense for you to study one more hour, right? Because you could be doing something else. So you're looking at the opportunity cost of that 1 hour of study. Since you're looking at one additional hour, that's an example of a marginal analysis.
Okay.
Yeah, this one you'll probably have to write down.
Usually, these things are all multiple choice. Correction and pencil. Oh my goodness, it's so cold. Okay. That's it. I'm not going to class. No, I'm kidding. I have to go to class. But if I didn't have to, I wouldn't.
What time is it?
It's from 10 to 11:20. So
It should start to get a
peak.
little warmer by then.
It's usually right after my classes. It tends to get a little bit warmer, but
Yeah,
from at that 10 o'clock mark, it's still brutal. I step
yeah,
outside. I'm like my skin is about to fall off.
walk into the class too, right?
Yeah.
That's rough.
I'm gonna put in if they have a suggestion box somewhere that we have a shuttle that goes around and drops students off. That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Is this opportunity cost?
Yep.
Oh yeah, it's at the bottom right there. I just didn't finish reading the question. Lovely. Oh, and I need a calculator. Guess what I forgot to get while I was up? A calculator. All right, hold on. Back in 2 seconds. Yeah, I just want to make sure that I'm not getting anything wrong. I really want to get 100% on this. It saves me so much time on my list of things to do because I have it plugged in for every day
Yeah.
until I get 100% until it's due. I have a system right now. I've got a heated blanket, a weighted blanket, and then my duvet. My arms right now? No, thank you. All right. So for 44 hours of labor, I'm gonna say that right now for right now, that's kind of irrelevant.
Sorry, which
For
word? Yeah, the 44.
the
Yeah.
it's irrelevant. So
Mm.
1 hour. Sorry for. We'll start with laptops, and then smartphone for one laptop. It's 8 hours labor, so 1/8. For smartphones, it's 1/3. Calculate the opportunity cost of producing one laptop in terms of smartphone. So if it's three, one laptop, so if it's eight, it'd be 8/3 because it's 8 hours to make a laptop. Right?
Uh,
Are we gonna have a human calculator moment? 0.6. Technically, it's this, but
yeah, 7. Yeah.
yeah. All right. Oh, more calculating questions. Whoopee. All right.
This one you
Uh,
definitely don't need a calculator for.
let's see. Math. I should write it down because I cannot do algebra mentally, unfortunately. Set it up. 12 plus 2q is equal to 30 minus 3q. Q is equal to 18.
Oh, wait, Q. 5Q equals 18. Q. Wait, how'd you get 18?
Oh, wait. It's -5. I was rushing. My bad.
So you would find Q first, and then you would plug it into either one of these to find P.
I thought it was positive.
I get you. These are pretty rough values,
But they should make them a lot nicer, in my opinion.
especially for questions like these where they're equations.
-8, not -18, 18 over -5.
No,
Oh,
it should be positive. Do you want me to quickly do it? The math?
how could it be positive? Depending on what value you're moving over. Oh, you're right. It's positive. They're both negative. So
Yeah.
that cancels. Yeah. So that'd be 18/5.
Yeah, 3.6.
Okay, your human calculator, I've determined.
Wait, that's not the answer.
Yeah, it is actually.
No, because what you found right now is Q. What you need is the
Oh, I
price.
gotta plug it in.
Yeah, yeah. So 19.
12 plus 2 multiplied by 3.6. 19.2.
Yeah. You can check your answer as well. So you plugged it into one, you could plug it into the other and just make sure that you get the same answer. Obviously, you don't have to do it, but if you have time, it's a good way to check your answer.
All right. What is included in DPD? Okay, so that is intermediate goods. I'm pretty sure. All right. Well, let me just give her another skim over. For me, it's between these two.
Intermediate goods are usually excluded, I think, because of double counting, remember? Intermediate goods are basically goods used to produce final goods. For example, if you're looking at a bakery and they produce cakes, the dough they buy would be an intermediate good to produce the cake. When we're looking at GDP, we only look at the value of the final good, which is the cake. Because if we look at the value of the cake, whatever it's selling for, that includes the price of the dough. right? So if we include the price of
Right.
dough as well, then we're double counting the dough. So why intermediate goods are excluded? Well, let me look through the options. I think it is the third one, but let me just look through. But yeah, I mean, so it wouldn't be the last one because we're talking about gross domestic product. So D stands for domestic, right? So we're not
Right.
including anything abroad. We're only looking at domestic production. So it's not going to be intermediate, household production. I mean, household production is included. So third one is definitely the best one out of the
All
five.
right.
See, that's going to happen as well when you're attempting the test. A lot of times you'll see a few of the options will make sense, right? So you just have to pick the best one, the one that makes the most sense, or the one that answers the question, like that fulfills whatever the requirements of the questions are the best.
Right.
Yeah. So this question is talking about what I just explained about intermediate goods, the example that I gave you. It's
Yeah.
pretty much that.
So we're just talking about the final product, not anything that goes into it, because that counts for double counting. Okay, so it'd just be, wouldn't it technically just be 20 loaves multiplied by 5?
But yeah,
No.
because whatever the farmer paid for the seeds and
Yeah.
whatever the baker paid for the wheat, those are already included in the price of the bread that the consumers are paying for. Okay.
Right.
That's why you can just look at the final product, see how much that's worth, and that's you can just use that for the GDP calculation.
Okay. That is imported. Anything that's imported.
I would say the first one as well. And this is
It's
probably
gonna,
mentioned somewhere in like the first or second chapter in the textbook.
the first one kind of does, because that's technically a business, but I'm not 100% sure on this.
It's not third or fifth. Those ones don't make sense.
No. It could be four.
I mean, the price levels. I don't think it's second either. The
Yeah. So one or
first
one or
first
three.
one makes sense to me. But like this
Yeah.
is an example of a question that's like literally it's just a statement out of one of the chapters. So you just have to like have read through the chapters to be able to recall what the author said. But first one makes sense to me.
All right. Okay. So what happens with the GDP deflator? Could you go over that concept really quickly, please?
Yeah, so it was just a formula if you remember. So GDP deflator was nominal GDP divided by real GDP for sure. So you can
So
use that.
that's the product, that 5%. Will that add on to the regular GDP?
So deflator is nominal divided by real. So real will be nominal divided by the deflator. So
Okay.
that goes up by 10%, that goes up by 5%.
I don't think it remains unchanged. So fifth is out.
Okay,
And then
so
let's say we added and then divided whatever that was there. That would be a decimal, not a whole number.
you have to do like 1 plus that. So what's 1.1 divided by 1.05? Yeah, 5%. It should be increases by 5%. Because when we looked at it, we just looked at the formula for finding it, not necessarily changes in that.
Okay.
Let me pull it up a sec. What chapter was it this in? Chapter
I'll make it 5.
8, I think. Oh, sorry, it's 8 in mine, yeah. The GDP chapter, right?
Yeah.
So GDP deflator is nominal GDP divided by real GDP times 100. Yeah, I think it should be that.
All right.
So the base level prices are, we assume it's 1, right? It's at 100%. If the nominal GDP increases by 10%, so that value, if you look at the formula, would become 1.1, right? Because it was 1 before, now it's 10% higher, so it's 1.1. And the deflator was 1 before, now it's 5% higher, so it's 1.05. Your formula was GDP deflator equals nominal GDP divided by real GDP. they're asking you for what happens to real GDP. So real GDP would be the nominal GDP divided by the GDP deflator. So the 1.1 divided by the 1.05 gives you 1.0478 something. The closest will be 5%. That's how I got that. That makes sense or no? Do you want me to like write down the math?
No, that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Okay. This is from the last session. This one has to do with seasonal working.
No. So cyclical is to do with the changes in business cycle for the entire economy.
Okay.
Right. So if you think about seasonal, that was more seasonal unemployment. That has to do with particular businesses. For example, the ski instructor would be seasonal unemployment. Right.
Right.
But when we're talking about cyclical, we're talking about the entire economy. The business cycles
Right.
that the entire economy goes through. There were two business cycles, if you remember. What were they?
I remember there were two, but I'm not. The names probably couldn't tell you.
So it's growth and recession, right? So either the economy GDP is increasing, then it's growth. If the GDP is decreasing, then it's a recession. So, I mean, that tells you the answer.
Apparently, I'm just not awake right now. I should be awake. The smell of coffee in my room is very prominent right now.
So that factory worker, right, him getting unemployed, him or her getting unemployed, didn't have anything to do with their particular sales. It's more as if the entire economy. So the economy is in a recession. The industry is suffering, the company's suffering, so they just cut down on expenses, and because of that, that worker got unemployed and had nothing to do with their particular skills, right? So,
Right.
so that's why it would be sick.
Right. That makes sense. A country's GDP is calculated by using the average approach. So this one.
Yeah, so C plus I plus G plus NX is our equation, right? That yeah. Second one's good.
Country produces two goods. Bonds. Price. Okay.
Yeah, I did write down.
Yeah. So
So,
for this one,
yeah.
I don't remember the equation, but
So we just did GDP deflator. So start with that. What's the formula for that?
that one's this one, right?
No,
No.
a little bit up. The one with 10%, 5%, that one.
Right.
So GDP deflator is nominal GDP divided by real GDP times 100.
Right. Okay.
Mm.
So could you please repeat that?
Yep. So GDP deflator is nominal GDP divided by real GDP times 100. So now you need to do is figure out the nominal GDP and the real GDP so you can plug them into the formula and find the answer. Given all the numbers for the production and the prices, you can find the nominal GDP and the real GDP. Create a table with the prices and the quantities for each year. Create a price column and then split that into 2 years. Put down a price column, split that into two, last year, current year. And the next column would be the quantity produced. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
So the quantity produced last year, actually the current year, is 70. And we have two goods. So within production, you need to have laptops and phones, right? So do a separate
So
column for
another column.
yeah.
Okay.
Or you can make that like laptops and phones and make those rows. You could do that as well.
Okay. So
in the current year, the price is 900 and the country produces 70 laptops. The price of a phone is just 200 and the country produces 100 phones. Okay, so if you just stop right there, those numbers, those four numbers, you can use to find the nominal GDP. Okay, so nominal GDP is the GDP using the current year's prices. Okay, so what the GDP is today. How would you find the GDP today, given those numbers?
I forget if is it division or subtraction?
What is GDP?
It's gross domestic product, how much they make in the year.
How much who makes?
The company.
The economy.
Oh, the economy, right? Sorry.
So the first statement says a country only produces two goods. So we're assuming that this obviously very simplified assumption, right? The entire economy only produces two goods, laptops and phones. So then the GDP, which is essentially a proxy for how much the production of the entire economy is, in this case, it's only two goods. So you want to find how much the production of those two goods are worth. That'll give you the GDP. How would you find
Right.
how many laptops and how many phones the economy produced, right? The economy produced 70
Right.
laptops and 100 phones. So
Right.
how much are those worth?
You multiply by the price.
70 laptops times 900 plus the 200, which is the price of phones, times 100 phones. That gives you the nominal GDP.
70 times 900
Yeah.
plus 200 times 100.
Yep.
And that will give us
Mm-hmm.
83,000. Okay. And then you gotta do the same thing for this year.
Mm-hmm. So the quantity is the same, but the prices are different. Okay, so you'll use the same formula, but instead of using the 900 price for the laptop, now you're going to use 1,000. And instead of using the $200 price for the phone, now you're going to use 300.
100,000 for the second one.
Yeah. And then
And then
there's
I'm assuming you divide the 83.
times 100. Yeah.
And then there's no decimals. What
Yeah.
I do, because
This one make
it
sense
says
now?
one. Yeah, it does. So where applicable. So no, there's just no decimals at all.
Like with the table, I feel like it makes it a lot easier. You know,
Right.
there's only one column for quantity, and then you're just multiplying it with the price in the base year to get the real GDP and the price in the current year to get the nominal GDP. And then once you get
Yeah.
those, you just plug them into the formula, nominal over real times 100, and that gives you the answer.